The plasma bolt missed Commander Ryan Garrett's head by inches. He felt the heat sear past his ear as he threw himself behind a shattered support column. Around him, the orbital station groaned like a dying beast. Metal screamed. Gravity flickered on and off in nauseating waves. All personnel, this is Garrett. Evacuation is mandatory. You have 4 minutes before core breach. His comm crackled with panicked voices. 17 crew members, 16 accounted for, 1 missing. He sprinted down the corridor as another explosion rocked the station. The lights died. Emergency reds kicked in, painting everything the color of blood. Smoke choked the air. Through the haze, he saw her. The Crithian commander lay pinned beneath a collapsed bulkhead. Purple blood pooled around her armored body. Her 4 eyes locked onto him. Even dying, she managed to raise her plasma rifle. "Don't," Garrett said. She fired. The bolt went wide, her strength failing. They'd been killing each other for 3 years. The Crithian Empire had burned Earth's colonies. Humanity had returned the favor tenfold. This station was supposed to be neutral ground for peace talks. Instead, someone had sabotaged the reactor. Probably her people. Maybe his. Didn't matter now. The station's going to explode, Garrett said. "Let me help you." Her translator device sputtered. "Human lies. Always lies." "Yeah, we're great at that." He grabbed the bulkhead. It didn't budge. "But I'm also great at being stupidly stubborn." 2 minutes left. He wedged his boots against the wall and pulled. His muscles screamed. The metal groaned but shifted an inch. Then 2. The Crithian commander stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "Why?" she rasped. "Honestly, no idea. Terrible decision-making runs in my family." He hauled the debris off her. She collapsed against him, her weight nearly dropping them both. Her armor was cracked wide open. That much damage meant she was bleeding out fast. 1 minute. Garrett slung her over his shoulder and ran. The corridor twisted. A blast door hung halfway shut, its mechanism sparking. He dove through the gap as fire erupted behind them. The escape pod bay was just ahead. 30 seconds. He threw her into the pod and slammed the launch button. Nothing happened. The system was dead. "Of course it is!" He ripped open the manual release panel and yanked the lever. The pod shot away from the station just as the reactor went critical. The shockwave hit them like a hammer. Garrett's head cracked against the bulkhead. Everything went dark. When he opened his eyes, the Crithian commander was staring at him. Her weapon was gone. She was still bleeding, and they were alone in a tiny escape pod, drifting in the void between their warring empires. "You saved enemy," she whispered. Garrett laughed. It hurt. "Yeah, I really did. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning to get complicated." Feel name Acid. Years later, the alien Empress asked, "Why did you save me, human?" "We were supposed to be enemies. .txt. The escape pod's emergency beacon blinked uselessly in the dark. No one was coming. Both fleets had scattered after the station exploded. Garrett checked the readouts. Life support would last maybe 18 hours. The Crithian commander would be dead in 2. "Stop moving," he said. She hissed at him. Her lower left arm hung useless. Purple blood still leaked from the gashes in her carapace armor. Crithians were tough, but physics didn't care about species. She was dying. Garrett pulled the medical kit from the wall compartment. Human supplies. Probably useless for her biology, but he had to try something. "Your medgel won't work on Crithian physiology," she said. Her translator was damaged, making her voice sound hollow and distant. "Probably not, but you're going to let me try anyway." "Why?" Those 4 eyes studied him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "We killed your brother on Epsilon Station. The report said you led the retaliation strike yourself." Garrett's hand stopped. "How do you know about that? I commanded the fleet at Epsilon." She coughed. More purple blood. "Your brother died well. He took 40 of my soldiers with him." The rage came fast and hot. His fingers tightened on the medical kit hard enough to crack the plastic. Derek had been 23, fresh out of the academy. Excited about his first posting? Garrett had promised their mother he'd keep him safe. He took a breath. Then another. "Yeah, well, revenge won't keep you breathing right now." He opened her armor carefully. The Crithian anatomy was all wrong compared to human. 4 lungs instead of 2. A distributed circulatory system. Her primary heart was on the right side, still beating frantically. The secondary heart had stopped. "You know Crithian biology?" she asked. "Enough to kill you efficiently. Never thought I'd use it for this." He found the worst bleeder and applied pressure. She snarled in pain but didn't pull away. The human coagulant foam probably wouldn't work, but he tried it anyway. To his surprise, it held. Barely. "What's your name?" Garrett asked. "Designation irrelevant. I am enemy. You're a person bleeding to death in front of me. That makes you relevant." She was quiet for a long moment. The pod drifted through debris from the destroyed station. Pieces of metal caught the distant starlight. "Vexa," she finally said. "Commander Vexa of the 3rd Talon Fleet." Ryan Garrett. "But you already knew that." "Yes. There is a bounty on your head. 15 million credits. Alive only. The Empress wants to execute you personally on broadcast." "Flattering. I assume you had similar plans before I ruined them by saving your life." Vexa made a sound that might have been laughter or coughing. "Hard to tell. This changes nothing. When rescue comes, we return to war." "If rescue comes," Garrett corrected. He checked the scanners. Empty space in all directions. "We're in neutral zone debris. Could be days before anyone picks up our beacon. Then I die here. Not if I can help it." He worked in silence, sealing what he could, stabilizing what he couldn't. Vexa watched him the entire time. Those alien eyes never blinked, never looked away. It was unnerving. "At Epsilon Station," she said quietly. "Your brother's last transmission was a warning to his crew. He stayed behind to manually override the reactor safeties. He bought them 30 seconds. Garrett's jaw clenched. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know he was brave. We honor brave enemies." "You honor them by killing more of them?" "We honor them by remembering their names. Your brother was Derek Garrett, engineering specialist 23 cycles old. He enjoyed old Earth music and terrible coffee. His crew spoke of him fondly." Garrett's hands trembled. "How do you know all that?" "I read the personal files we recovered. I always do. It is easier to hate without faces, without stories, but I refuse to take the easy path." The pod suddenly felt smaller. Garrett sat back against the opposite wall. This close, he could hear Vex's breathing. Labored, painful, but steady. "My species believes death in battle is the highest honor," Vexa continued. "But you humans have a different way. You fight like demons, then you save your enemies. You make no sense." "Yeah, we get that a lot." "Why did you save me, human?" Garrett looked at her, really looked. Not at an enemy, not at the alien who'd killed his brother, just at another soldier far from home, bleeding out in the dark. "Because someone has to be better than this war," he said. Outside, a ship's running lights appeared in the distance. Friend or foe, they'd find out soon enough. Hastik's field name. Absolute dangerous. Years later, the alien Empress asked, "Why did you save me, human? We were supposed to be enemies. .txt. The ship wasn't human. It wasn't Crithian either." Garrett recognized the angular hull design immediately. Salvagers. The Corvin Syndicate, probably. They picked over battlefields like vultures, selling salvage to whoever paid best. Neutral in the war, loyal only to profit. "We have a problem," he said. Vexa tried to sit up and failed. "Corvin? Yeah, they'll ransom us both. Separately. To whoever bids highest. Then we become prisoners instead of soldiers." She coughed hard. "An improvement, perhaps." The pod shuddered as the tractor beam locked on. Garrett checked his sidearm. 6 shots. Against a salvage crew of maybe 20. Great odds. The airlock clanged as it connected. Hissing pressure equalization. Then the hatch blew inward with a sharp bang that made Garrett's ears ring. 4 Corvin soldiers poured through, weapons raised. Insectoid faces, chitinous armor, compound eyes that saw in spectrums humans couldn't. Their leader chittered something. The translator on his belt converted it to flat and motionless English. "Weapons down, high-value targets secured. Bidding begins immediately." "Garrett didn't lower his gun." "She needs medical attention. Crithian commander worth more alive will receive treatment." The Corvin's mandibles clicked. Human commander also valuable. Both will survive to auction. That's not good enough. The Corvin leader tilted his head. You negotiate with gun and no leverage. Amusing. Garrett smiled. It wasn't friendly. I'm negotiating with the grenade and a willingness to use it. He pulled the fragmentation grenade from his belt. His thumb hovered over the primer. In this confined space, it would kill everyone. The Corvin's weapons all shifted to him. You bluff, the leader said. Do I? Check your intelligence files. How many suicide attacks have humans pulled off in this war? Garrett's voice went cold. We're really good at dying when it matters. The standoff stretched. Vexa made that sound again. Definitely laughter this time. Weak and pained. Insane, she whispered. Humans are completely insane. The Corvin leader's antennae twitched. What terms? Medical care for her. Real care. Not just enough to keep her breathing for auction. And we stay together. No separation. Why, together? Because I don't trust you not to space her the second I'm in a different cell. More chittering. The Corvin consulted among themselves in their native language, too fast for the translator. Finally, the leader's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. Agreed. But human gives grenade first. After she's in medical bay. Not before. They stared at each other. Then the Corvin gestured sharply. Two soldiers moved forward and carefully lifted Vexa. She didn't resist. Couldn't, probably. They carried her out of the pod. Garrett followed. Grenade still active, gun still ready. The Corvin ship was exactly what he expected. Stripped bulkheads, exposed wiring, everything built for function over comfort. The medical bay was surprisingly well equipped. Salvagers needed to keep expensive cargo alive. A Corvin medic went to work on Vex immediately. Scanners, injections, a device that sealed her wounds with some kind of rapid bonding compound. Her breathing steadied. The purple bleeding stopped. Satisfied? The leader asked. Garrett set the grenade down carefully and raised his hands. Instantly, weapons pressed against his spine. Magnetic restraints snapped around his wrists. Foolish to trust, the Corvin said. I trusted you'd want your ship intact. Different thing. They threw him in a cell. Standard detention unit, reinforced walls, force field door. 10 minutes later, they shoved Vexa in beside him. She collapsed against the wall, unconscious or close to it. Garrett caught her before she hit the floor. He eased her down gently. The medic had done good work. She'd live. Still protecting enemy? She mumbled without opening her eyes. Still insane? Yeah, well, I'm committed now. The ship's engines hummed to life. Wherever they were going, it was too late to change course. Garrett settled against the opposite wall, watching Vexa breathe. Her 4 eyes flickered open briefly. The Empress will pay fortune for me, she said. Your people will pay more for you. We will be separated. Sold. This changes nothing. Maybe. But you're alive to be sold. That's something. Why does human care if enemy lives or dies? Garrett thought about Derek. About Epsilon Station. About 3 years of war and thousands dead on both sides. About how easy it would have been to leave her under that bulkhead. Because maybe if we start seeing each other as people instead of targets, this war eventually ends. Naive. Probably. But I've been called worse. Vex's eyes closed again. Her breathing deepened into something like sleep. Outside the cell, Corvin crew members passed by, already calculating auction values, already counting profits. Garrett didn't sleep. He watched the corridor and waited. Salvagers were predictable, greedy, and greed made people sloppy. He just needed one mistake, one opening, and he'd get both of them out of here. Asterisk, field name. Asterisk. Years later, the alien Empress asked, "Why did you save me, human? We were supposed to be enemies.txt." The opportunity came 30 to 6 hours later. Garrett had been counting guard rotations, mapping patrol patterns, measuring response times. The Corvin were efficient but arrogant. They'd locked up 2 wounded soldiers and assumed the job was done. Big mistake. Vexa was stronger now. The medic had done better work than expected. She could stand, could move, could think clearly. That made what came next possible. The door mechanism runs on a standard electromagnetic field, Garrett whispered. They've got a manual override panel right there in the corridor. Behind force field, behind guards, behind locked corridor access. Vex's translator had been repaired. Her voice was clearer now, still alien but easier to understand. Impossible! Difficult, not impossible. You have plan? Half of one. You any good at acting? Her 4 eyes narrowed. Explain. 10 minutes later, Vexa started screaming. High-pitched, agonized sounds that echoed through the detention level. She thrashed against the floor, convulsing violently. Purple blood leaked from her mouth. The guards came running. 3 of them, weapons ready but lowered. Medical emergency, not escape attempt. They lowered the force field. Garrett struck fast. He'd palmed a metal shard from the cell's ventilation grate during the night. Not much of a weapon, but enough. He drove it into the first guard's optical cluster. The Corvin shrieked and stumbled back. Vexa stopped convulsing. She swept the second guard's legs out from under him with a move that would have been impossible yesterday. Her recovered strength caught them completely off guard. She grabbed his weapon and fired point-blank into the third guard's thorax. Alarm screamed to life. "Override panel!" Garrett shouted. Vexa was already there, her 4 hands working the controls faster than any human could. She'd been watching the guards too, memorizing their access codes. The emergency bulkheads started dropping throughout the ship. "That won't hold them long," Garrett said. "Don't need long. Need distraction." She pulled up the ship's schematic on the panel. Her fingers flew across the display. Somewhere deep in the ship something exploded. The lights flickered. "Their reactor shielding just developed a critical fault," Vexa said. 10-minute countdown before radiation flood. "You can hack Corvin systems?" I commanded fleet. "You think I don't study enemy technology?" She grabbed the dead guard's weapon and tossed Garrett another. "Move." Escape pods are forward section. They ran. The corridor twisted and branched. Emergency lighting painted everything red. Behind them, Garrett heard chittering voices and the clatter of armed response teams mobilizing. Vexa moved like a predator. 3 years of war had taught Garrett to recognize Krithian combat efficiency. She cleared corners professionally, fired with precision, wasted no motion. Whatever pain she was in, she didn't show it. They hit a junction and nearly collided with a 5-soldier patrol. The firefight was brutal and close. Plasma bolts scorched the walls. Garrett took one across his shoulder and kept firing. Vexa moved like water, impossibly fast despite her injuries. She dropped 3 Corvin before they could adjust their aim. Garrett finished the other 2. "You're hit," Vexa said. "I've had worse." He hadn't. The burn went deep, but they didn't have time to stop. They pushed forward. The escape pod bay was just ahead. Vexa slapped the door controls. Nothing happened. "Locked down," she said. "Can you override it?" "Not from here. Need engineering access." Behind them, the pursuit was getting closer. Garrett checked his weapon. Half charge left. Not enough. "There," Vexa pointed to a maintenance shaft. "Access to lower deck. Engineering is 3 corridors over. That's going the wrong direction. Do you have better plan, human?" She didn't wait for an answer. She pried the shaft cover off and dropped through. Garrett followed. The shaft was tight, designed for Corvin bodies, not human or Krithian frames. They crawled fast. The shaft opened into a service corridor. Darker, quieter. The alarm sounds were muffled here. Vexa moved with certainty, reading the Corvin labeling like she'd built the ship herself. Engineering was chaos. The radiation leak was real, not just a false alarm. Corvin crew members scrambled to contain it. No one noticed 2 enemy soldiers slip through the shadows. Vexa found a terminal and started working. Her 4 hands danced across 3 separate control panels simultaneously. Code scrolled past faster than Garrett could read. "Escape pod bay unlocking in 30 seconds, she said, but radiation containment failing faster than calculated. Maybe 5 minutes before lethal exposure. Can you fix it? Can I save enemy crew who imprisoned us?" She paused. Her eyes met his. "You would do it, wouldn't you?" "Probably. Humans." But her hands were already moving again, rerouting power, stabilizing containment fields. The radiation warnings dropped from critical to manageable. A Corvin engineer spotted them. He reached for his communicator. Vexa shot him. Clean. Efficient. No hesitation. Some enemies? Yes. Not all. She pulled her hands from the terminal. Bay unlocked. Time to leave. They ran back the way they'd come. The pursuit had figured out they doubled back. Plasma fire chased them through the corridors. Garrett returned fire without looking, just suppressing enough to keep moving. The escape pod bay doors stood open. 6 pods still docked. Vexa dove into the nearest one. Garrett followed and slammed the launch command. The pod shot away from the ship just as a plasma bolt shattered the viewport behind them. Vacuum screamed through the gap for half a second before emergency seals engaged. They tumbled through space, the Corvin ship shrinking behind them. No pursuit, too busy dealing with their radiation crisis. Garrett slumped against the pod wall. His shoulder burned like fire. Vexa was checking the navigation systems with the focused intensity of someone deliberately not thinking about what they'd just done. You saved their crew, Garrett said. Tactical decision. Dead crew means no one flying ship. Ship crashes, debris field expands, harder to navigate. Right, tactical. She didn't answer. The pod drifted. No destination programmed, just away. We're in worse position than before, Vexa finally said. No supplies, no support, no allies. Both our sides want us dead or captured. Yeah, but we're together. That counts for something. Her 4 eyes fixed on him. Why does that count for anything? Because alone we're just soldiers. Together, maybe we're something different. The pod scanner pinged. Another ship approaching. Bigger this time, and it was broadcasting Crithian Imperial codes. Asterix field name, Asterix years. Later, the alien Empress asked, "Why did you save me, human? We were supposed to be enemies.txt. The Crithian warship was a Predator-class destroyer. Garrett recognized the profile from 100 tactical briefings. Heavily armed. Fast, designed to hunt human vessels and win. Vexa's entire posture changed. She sat straighter despite her injuries. Her 4 hands moved across the pod's communication array with practiced authority. Stand down, Garrett said quietly. Don't call them, my fleet. They'll execute me the second we dock. Yes, she didn't look at him. Probably. The warship's tractor beam locked onto their pod. No choice in the matter now. They were being pulled in whether they cooperated or not. You could have hidden my identity, Garrett said. Claimed I was salvager crew. Bought me time. I could have, but you won't. Vex's hands stopped moving. She turned to face him fully. Those alien eyes held something he couldn't quite read. You saved my life twice now. On station. On salvager ship. You protected me when logic said, abandon me. Her translator made her voice sound hollow. I am grateful, but I am also Crithian commander. I have duty, obligation, honor. Honor? Right. Garrett checked his weapon. Still some charge left. So what happens now? Now you die, and I return to war. The pod shuddered as it entered the destroyer's hangar bay. Through the viewport, Garrett saw 24 armed soldiers waiting. Heavy battle armor, plasma cannons. They weren't taking chances. The airlock cycled. The hatch opened. Vexa stepped out first. She spoke in rapid Crithian, her natural language harsh and clicking. The soldiers snapped to attention immediately. Whatever she was saying, it carried weight. Garrett followed her out slowly, hands visible, weapon lowered. Every gun in the hangar tracked him. A Crithian officer approached, taller than Vexa, with more elaborate armor markings. He spoke in Crithian. Vexa responded. Back and forth rapid-fire exchange that the universal translators struggled to follow. Then the officer looked at Garrett. When he spoke, his translator was perfectly clear. Commander Vexa says you saved her life. Twice. That's accurate. She also says you are Commander Ryan Garrett, the Butcher of Tau Ceti. Personally responsible for 1,600 Crithian deaths. That number's inflated. Closer to 1,400. The officer's mandibles clicked. You admit war crimes, I admit following orders. Same as every soldier here. Crithian law is clear. Enemy commanders taken alive are executed publicly. No exceptions. Garrett met his gaze. Then get on with it. The officer raised his sidearm, pointed it at Garrett's head. His finger moved to the trigger. Wait! Vexa stepped between them. Commander Vexa, you overstep. This human is condemned. Debt of honor exists. Honor does not apply to enemies. You are wrong. Vexa's voice went cold, hard. Honor applies most to enemies. Otherwise, we are just murderers hiding behind flags. The hangar went silent. 28 soldiers watched, waiting. The officer's weapon didn't waver. Stand aside, Commander. No, that is direct insubordination. Then add it to my report. But I will not stand aside. The officer's 4 eyes narrowed. You would choose human life over Crithian duty? I choose to honor my word. I told this human we return to war. I did not promise his execution. Semantics. Precision. Vexa didn't move. He could have left me to die. 3 times now he chose differently. I will not repay that with betrayal. The standoff stretched. Garrett could feel the tension like a physical thing. His hand drifted slowly toward his weapon. If this went wrong, he'd take as many as he could. Then a new voice cut through the hangar. Female, younger, speaking from the overhead comm system. Bring them both to my chambers. Immediately, Crithian in the hangar froze. Then, as one, they dropped to one knee. Heads bowed. Absolute submission. The officer lowered his weapon slowly. As the Empress commands. Empress. Garrett looked at Vexa. Your Empress is on a destroyer? Not just any destroyer. Vexa's voice was quiet, almost reverent. The Shadow Blade, flagship of the Imperial fleet. The Empress herself commands it. And she wants to see us personally? Apparently. They were escorted through the ship by an honor guard. Not prisoners exactly, but not free either. The Shadow Blade was beautiful in a lethal way. Every surface optimized for war. Every corridor a killing field if needed. The Empress's chambers were at the ship's heart. The doors opened automatically. She was young. That surprised Garrett. Maybe 30 in human years, though. Crithian aging was different. Her armor was ornate but functional. Battle-scarred, this was no ceremonial ruler. This was a warrior who led from the front. Her 4 eyes locked onto Garrett with an intensity that made the officer's stare seem gentle. So, she said. Her translator was the best Garrett had heard. Almost no delay, nearly natural inflection. You are the human who saved my cousin, Garrett blinked. Cousin? The Empress gestured to Vexa. Commander Vexa is 3rd in line for the Imperial throne. Did she not mention this? It didn't come up. How typical of her. The Empress circled Garrett slowly. You have killed thousands of my people, burned our colonies, destroyed our fleets. The bounty on your head could fund a small war. Yeah, I've heard. And yet you saved Vexa twice, protected her, fought beside her. The Empress stopped directly in front of him. Why? There it was. The question everyone kept asking, the one Garrett didn't have a good answer for. Because it was the right thing to do, he said finally. The Empress stared at him. Then she started laughing, deep and genuine. The sound filled the chamber. Humans, she said. Absolutely insane. All of you. She turned to Vexa. Cousin, what do you recommend? Vexa stood at attention. He has earned life debt. Honor demands we spare him. Honor, yes. The Empress walked to a viewport. Outside, stars drifted past. Do you know why this war started, Commander Garrett? Your empire attacked our colonies. After your corporations violated our sacred breeding grounds. After your miners poisoned our home waters. After your politicians called us animals unworthy of negotiation. Garrett said nothing. He'd heard the propaganda from both sides. Truth